And this is something that just came up because Timbaland, producer, famous producer, is getting a lot of backlash, which I don't know if you've seen. What's going down? Welcome back to No Pain, No Gain. It's so weird saying it. This is the second time I'm saying it officially. I still need to make that theme song. Aaron, good morning. How are
People
you feeling?
already, what's up? People are already sending I've gotten DMs and on my new YouTube channel. Thank y'all for tuning into my new YouTube channel. A couple people were like, "Hey, I saw you on No Pain, No Gain." So it's like people are already using that. And then somebody DM'd me because they bought my book and they were like, "Yeah, I heard you talk about this on No Pain, No Gain." So that's three people in the last week. So it's already caught on.
Oh, I need an affiliate link. You can start selling the book in the comments.
That'd be dope. Yeah. I gotta figure out how to generate one of those, but definitely I'll give you an affiliate link because I want to sell more of my book. My book is called How to Be Excellent, A Beginner's Guide to Achieving the Unbelievable. It's $5. It's charted several times as the best short read book in three different categories. So go buy my book.
And here's another uh, testament to your insight. You were absolutely right. You called it when it came to AI. Um, and this is something that just came up because Timbaland, producer, famous producer, is getting a lot of backlash, which I don't know if you've seen. Some producers, some recording artists, I think most notably Young Guru, Jay-Z's engineer slash producer. He's been vocally anti AI for a while. But what Timbaland just did, and you said this is what you were afraid of with AI. You said you were afraid that AI was going to, well, the labels were going to now create these situations, these contracts where artists that are signed to them sign over the rights to their voice and their personality and likeness and so forth, so that once they die, the labels can continue to exploit their music either by creating new music posthumously, through AI generated lyrics, whatever, or through other different ways that they can exploit an artist's voice. And that's what Timberland just announced. He went viral for making a beat and then creating AI generated Notorious BIG lyrics. Remember when hologram, there was like the hologram Tupac and all that? It seemed like, and Michael Jackson, it seemed like a novelty. People kind of liked it a little bit, but it was just a novelty. I don't think there was backlash. Timbaland's getting backlash. People
There
are
was a
upset
ton
about
of
this.
backlash on my side of the internet with those holograms, and they were very creepy to me, and I hated it.
Haven't we seen dystopian, futuristic movies where you can still communicate with facsimiles of the dead through holograms? And it's supposed to be eerie and creepy. And now the labels are promoting it. Oh, because I feel like here's something else that came out. And this is the thing that I think you sent me. It was this conversation about Rob, by Rob Abello, who I hope I'm saying his name right. He has talked extensively about, I've gotten a lot of information from his tweets regarding AI, but you were also right. We were both right. Remember when the Drake and the Weeknd fake song came out and there was this big backlash from Universal Music Group itself because all three of their artists were which I think this speaks to the conspiracy theory that maybe UMG had something to do with this. I'm not saying it is the case, but it certainly drummed up a lot of publicity surrounding AI. And what we said was the funniest statement UMG made because they were talking about we're gonna fight this war against AI on behalf of artists. We have to help artists. We have to save artists. And we're like, yeah, okay. How are you gonna make money off this? That's really what you're looking for. And here we are. There's a AI company called Endel that UMG has inked a creative music partnership with. And basically, what it does, from what I can understand it, is that it uses voices existing music from artists that are signed to the label, and in real time through some AI algorithm, you can create different versions, alternative versions, kind of like remixing on the fly for certain, quote unquote functional purposes, that are backed by science. So you could get a Drake ASMR for assistance with sleeping, for example. I think, is that how you're understanding it?
Yeah, they said that they started out with James Blake, which I love. Right? Is that right? Let me make sure I'm seeing that right.
That sounds right.
Yep. James Blake. So it's his music and vocals. So they're using, like you said, pre-existing songs plus his voice processed by Endel to make you go to sleep. So it's kind of like I've used the app. There's like several apps like it, like Calm. I there's another app that I was using like that's like calm, but it's for waking up. It's like for waking up to like a peaceful state. So like I understand those, but they would just have people on there reading, and they would, and and then you can choose like water as a background or rain as a background, and then they affirm things, and then they read something else to you, and it's a very soothing. Like I myself am very much into being soothed in that way. I have a podcast dropping in June called A Podcast for Adults to Fall Asleep to, which is just my voice talking, because I think the human voice is super soothing. It's the first thing that you ever hear, your mother's voice, in the womb. So there's a lot of science behind this. I think the part that irks me is that artists, it seems like, are trying to be on the cutting edge. So they're like opting into these things, but it's just very predatory. To me, it's very anti-human in a lot of ways, and I don't want to get into like putting my personal belief systems on anybody. So I'm not going to push about the parts that I think are negative morally for me. But I think business wise, there's a lot of negativity here because it's like, the part of a legacy that's impactful is the fact that the person is no longer there. So there's a reverence for what they created. There's because there's a finiteness to what they have. Like just last week, I just had this thought. I was like, man, I miss Whitney Houston so much. Like she is somebody who shaped my ears so much, and like just her dynamics as a Black woman and what she had to go through. Obviously, never met her, don't know her, but her legacy has impacted me. But I was alive when Whitney was alive. So I feel like with things like AI, especially because with trends, like with Build Your Own Dreams, and I'm making a point. We have this shirt that's called the 5'3" shirt, and it has a picture of Muggsy Bogues on it. Lately, I've been wearing it, and a lot of younger people have been like, "Oh, he's from Space Jam," and I'm like, "Yes." But Muggsy Bogues is the shortest player to ever play in the league. He broke records, yada, yada, yada. Phenomenal passer, dominant scorer, like amazing, right? But they just know him from Space Jam. I feel like because of things like AI, that's what it's going to become. It's going to be like, oh, that's that guy from this sample that I like, or that's this guy from this meme that I saw. And it's like, yo, he's been dead for, you know, 50 years, 100 years. I just think that it's like devaluing art. And I say that at the risk of sounding like an old head, because that's the differentiator in the music industry. The moment you start saying, oh, well, art doesn't matter anymore because you young people, shaking my fist. I'm not trying to do that, but I don't know. It's just a weird thing. And I think that, like you said, UMG seems like they set it up. It's almost like they set up there because we never heard anything else about Ghost Boy.
Nothing
And
about
it's like
Ghostwriter.
he was going, they got the songs taken down. I just feel like that would have been an ongoing going. We identified that it was this person, we sued him, or we came to a settlement, or you know what I'm saying? We haven't heard anything else about that. So, and then now suddenly UMG promotes, okay, hey, James Blake is dropping basically sleep tunes. He's not making them, but our AI company is making them. it all just seems like very violent to me in a way that's like disrespectful to art. And I think about the NFT space again. I'm not anti NFT, but when they came around, it was just this like, this is everything. This is the future of art. You have to get on board. And to a degree, I felt like we were all like, we don't though. And there was logic there. But now with this AI thing, it feels like we're being required to get on board because it's like they're just going to all it's going to do is make them sign all new contracts for, like record labels sign, a lot of them sign a clause where they can take out an insurance policy on you, or like, like just different things around your death. A lot of people don't know that, but this industry is very dark. So if you die, they not only get to cash in on what they had their spend, like, hey, you died, but they also get to do different things with your music posthumously. I am very anti those clauses again because I think they're anti-human. But this feels like something like that. They don't even have to sign that now. It's just like if we can have your voice and your likeness, you know what I'm saying? Imagine if they did that with Prince. Prince would still be dropping records. Kids wouldn't know he was dead. And I think that that's like irreverent. I think that artists who want to have long lasting legacies right now are like, oh, that's super tight. But I think it has way more implications than we're thinking about. And it scares me to think that this is the future that we live in because then it puts no type of value on respecting and valuing the artist and the art form right now. It's just like, oh, it's just another voice to create something in the future.
Again, it just feels like a futuristic dystopian movie where everything is made by robots and humans are just no longer needed for anything, and there's some crazy concentration of wealth because it's, the people who own the AI systems are the only ones generating revenue and everybody else is reliant on handouts. Or I don't know what kind of economics, like what's that, Minority Report, that type of thing. So weird stuff. And I do, we're already signing away everything, and not just signing a contract with UMG so that they own the likeness and the rights to exploit our voice. I'm talking about, we had the whole conversation about signing over our facial recognition features to Facebook, and we all did that. We don't know what the hell is in these agreements, and once they're in there and we figure them out, it's like, well, we don't want to get left behind. Everybody else, you're gonna have a gang of 15-year-olds like everyone else at my school uses this app. I don't want to be the odd one out, so I'm gonna sign my whatever rights they're taking from me away. Yeah, it's the other thing too is, think of all the other people affected by this AI potentially. It's not just a recording artist whose voice is being used. It's, there are people who are voice actors. Now they're gone. I think actually AI voice acting was around for a while, and now you have these really convincing human voice models that, damn near for free you can create entire narrations with. So yeah, it's weird. I don't have much else to say about that. It's depressing. The what was the other thing that was a little, oh, so speaking of AI also, I don't know why the article was uh titled this, but it said something to the effect of streaming platforms have a huge $1 billion problem that goes deeper than AI. And it has to do with bots. I don't know what, I guess we're still talking about the ghostwriter thing, and that's a problem to streaming platforms. I don't really see why.
It's an
Especially with,
industry plant. It's gotta be because it's like, why would Ghost Boy relate to what they're talking about with this? But keep going.
it does make me think that ghostwriter, maybe that's not even, maybe that's just an old song that the Weeknd and Drake had lying around, and maybe it actually was a Metro Boomin beat. Who knows? But the label just puts it out and says, "No, this is fake. Oh my god, look at how amazing AI is."
I think it could be fake still, but I think that yeah, I think that they were their own, like, what do you call it?
Echo chamber.
They, I guess, but like they created it so that it created this explosion so that they could talk about it, but it was them the whole time.
It feels like that because you're right. We had this huge fever pitch in the Ghostwriter story, and then suddenly it just disappeared. And I think the labels knew that Ghostwriter's song would just make more people want to try AI technology because if the label says this is bad, if some figure, some authority figure, some corporate entity says now AI is terrible, everyone's going to be like, oh, that's cool. I want that. I want to try that out. They know that it's the oldest marketing trick in the book.
And then Grimes said, you can use my voice. So now UMG says, here are all the voices you can use of our artists. It's like, this seems a little bit too convenient. This, like, even us talking about it, it's like it's not a conspiracy theory because it's not that far fetched. It's like, this is the way that marketing works in this industry. And for them to be so severe, like, this is being taken down, releasing statements right away, this da 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 da. I remember kind of going deep in and being like, okay, who who owns that channel? And then I remember they discovered the channel was registered to this like LLC. And then I was like, I wonder who owns that LLC. And I could never find anything else about that. And then nobody else ever, and you know how the internet is. People were going super deep. How come nobody found out who owned the LLC? If that came out, please let me know. But I never found out of a person it was registered to, and I never heard about that person getting sued, even though UMG was threatening legal action. So unless he's like a billionaire and this was a joke and it was something funny for him, but it was done too well, like we had talked about, you said it was potentially Quentin Miller because the song was written so well. Like that was a joke. That was a potential conspiracy theory. But this now is just like the numbers aren't adding up to where so rapidly they silenced that and said it was unfair, but then came out with their own platform. That means that they were already working on it. Now, they could have silenced it because they were so upset that it came out before, but it just seems like it's all working together at this point. Because why would anybody care about UMG releasing James Blake voices unless they're like a super niche crypto bro or whatever? Respect to James Blake. I'm a huge James Blake fan. So I'm not saying it's because of James Blake, but it's like they had to get out there. They literally put three of the biggest artists in the world. So then it promoted it to the masses who weren't even thinking about AI. You know what I'm saying? Like in my world, I think everybody's thinking about AI because I'm in the music business. But every time I mention Chat GPT to people, they're like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, so most people still aren't thinking about AI. But if I mention that Ghost Boy song, everybody knows what I'm talking about. So I do think it was a UMG leak to make like albums used to leak all the time. That used to be the marketing thing. Like, oh, Nas's album got linked. We're leaked. We're about to sue somebody. It's like that was a whole marketing strategy.
Yeah, it's weird stuff. So this so-called AI streaming problem, I don't know, that just seems manufactured. But that article explains how billions of dollars in streaming royalties are actually generated by fake users, and that's insane to me. I think the two biggest tricks that people who scam the streaming system are using, according to this article, are one, taking a popular song and speeding it up a little bit or slowing it down, and then just uploading it to their profile. And then
How
the
does
other
that
one,
work though?
I was going to ask you the same thing. And then the second option they use is fake features. So I don't know how either of these work because so like Drake's new song, Rescue Me with Benny X. I couldn't just take that song and speed it up and then upload it through DistroKid and label it Drake Rescue Me because they would have an issue with that, I think, right? Or are people able to just put that in the title?
So it wouldn't be Drake, but I encounter this regularly. like my artist profiles, people say featuring them all the time, and we just keep an eye on them. So we flag them. But I'll say, like, I follow Sunday Service Choir, and there's a new feature. Like, I'm looking right now, there's like 10 features that appears on. No, is this is like 15. Goodness gracious. 18 right now I'm looking at that they're clearly not on. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Okay, yeah.
because it's not a primary artist, it's just a featured on. So it comes up in my Discover Weekly regularly. And I'm like, oh shoot. So now I don't even like click on it anymore. The only one that they actually have, from my understanding, is the one that they did with Davido in May of last year. But like everything, obviously everybody can't get that choir together and get a feature from them. But it's like people just put a choir vocals on their track and say Sunday Service Choir, and it's working. Because I'll go to these profiles and it'll be like, okay, like Lil Wu, he has 24,000 monthly listeners. That was his most recently dropped song. It came out May 2nd, and it has 16,600 streams on it. But his most streamed song ever on his profile has 42,000 streams. So, like, in less than a month, he's a third of the way to like the most amount of streams he's ever had on a track. And that song that came out 3 years ago, the one that has you know what I'm saying? So it's like there's plenty of people who are like that, they have a track out with them. It's not much, but oh my gosh, this is wild. He has multiple songs out with them. I don't like this. Wow. So I guess wow, he
Yeah, if it
realized
worked
he
once,
could
why would he stop?
he realized he could. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at this almost the first like 6 songs on their profile that have appears on is Lil Wu. But yeah, it's like this Transparent Sea has 3,000 monthly listeners. Every song has less than 1,000 plays, except for the one that he has Sunday Service Choir on that has 12,000 plays. Granted, Sunday Service Choir only has like 500,000 monthly listeners, but I listen to their Gospel Standards album regularly because it's done so well. Shout out to Jason White. But I think so there's things like that. There's an artist that one of my artists just did a song with her primary artist. Her name is Doe. Probably like 350 to 400,000 monthly listeners. Same thing. Somebody dropped a song 3 days after our song dropped. I'm always on the profiles. She has a new album coming out. So us being her a collaborator on Spotify is only going to last 2.5 weeks before her first album single comes out. So every day I'm checking, I'm looking at their numbers, whatever. I look at her page, it says new song by Doe. And I'm like, nope, we have a 2.5 week window for this to be at the top of her profile. So I hit her management team like, hey y'all, I don't know if you noticed, but this song came out yesterday. It's been on her profile for 24 hours. And they were like, thank you, working on it. I'm confused because I watch our Spotify. The moment Spotify for Artists says a new song has been uploaded, I go look at it, even if it's our song. I'm like, is the album artwork right? Is the title stylized right? Is it being pitched properly by my team? That's just like, I have multiple artist profiles that I'm looking at and managing. So for me to not even have access to her Spotify for Artists, and I'm just on the page looking and I see that, I think about how many hundreds of thousands of teams who have artists between the 100,000 and the million range that may just miss it for a day or two. And this is Sunday Service is just features, but but on Doe's page it was a collab. What do you call that? A primary artist. And I see that happen regularly. I saw Blackpink. This is the crazy thing on Blackpink's profile, because I listen to them. Blackpink's profile, one day for like 6 hours, this random heavy metal song appeared on their page. And it was actually pretty tight, but it was clearly not them. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like that now this was before Blackpink was as big as they are now, but it was definitely on their rise. So I think about people are really scamming, and it's like, if you can figure out how to make it work, maybe you're just sitting there trying it. Some of it, that Blackpink song, the band was also called Blackpink, so it was just like that was just quick. But if you
That
are
was
a
probably a
scammer,
mistake too on their part. It was probably
yeah, and it's
overlooked it.
like like Spotify sometimes will mess that up too, because we've had
Yeah.
another artist who had the same name stylized differently. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's on Spotify, but to think a profile like Blackpink's could be compromised without their team noticing a new song was uploaded, and then even just if you're a scammer, like if you just have time, this is like the content ID thing. If you just have time, you can just shoot your shot a bunch of times and make, several million streams, bringing in a couple 100,000 a year if you have the time. And then you get a bot on it and then you do AI. So, like, I've definitely seen it happen. I'm still confused how it happens for big artists. And I'm not quite sure how you get away with what was the first thing that you were talking about? I'm
Oh,
confused by that. The
yeah. How
sped
do
up
you?
versions. Because it's
Yeah.
like it's not going to appear on Drake's profile. So if you're looking
No.
for a sped up version of Drake's new song, like, or if you type it, maybe it's because but I feel like if I type in Drake's new song and it doesn't say Drake as the artist, I'm not going to listen to it. So I don't know.
Maybe you can put it in the title. There must be some sort of way. What I don't understand is how people are able to do this repeatedly, because you'll have to sign up for just one distributor account after another and set this up if you want to make this a sustainable scam, which I guess, hey, if that's a day of work and you're making six figures doing it, yeah, you're going to do it. uh it's a weird world, but thanks for drawing the parallel between that and content ID, because that's precisely what's happening. And you only hear about the people who are scamming the system at such a greedy level. It was that story about the two men who were scraping unclaimed content ID money from writers and publisher splits that they didn't own, but they knew that they were unregistered, and they were scraping from huge artists. And what was it, $22 million? It was some obscene amount. That's why it got publicity. I feel like you can do this at the six-figure level and fly under the radar, because there's just so much going on. Number one. Number two, these systems are already screwing artists over anyway, because they're not transparent, they're not easy to navigate, they're not accessible. For example, I don't understand the Spotify for Artists thing, where like someone can say, you're on this song, it appears on your secondary artist tab, and everyone who follows you gets a notification for this record. Because I've known people who have done this for major label artists, and they will get contacted by the artist teams and saying, hey, can you take that off? It's like, why can't you take it off? That's what I don't understand. Why? So Spotify for Artists doesn't give artists that level of control. It's not like Facebook, where someone tags you in a photo that's not yours trying to sell bootleg sunglasses, and you can just untag and block them. You can't do that with Spotify artists. It's
You
there.
can you can issue a takedown request, but that's
Yeah.
why, yeah, like, I told you about like when this dude was trying to sue us because my artist was in his short film or like his low budget film, and he recorded her on set singing and like learning how to play the guitar. We recorded an on-set vocal, but it wasn't super clear because they just had one boom and her mic, but they needed to mic the guitar. So we show up to the studio next day because he's like, we didn't get a clean take, can you record it in the studio? We think it's just for the film. This dude uploads the song to Spotify. So like, yeah, that part was super frustrating because we issued a takedown request right away, but our label literally was like, can you reach out to him and ask him to take it down? And I was like, why do I have to? Clearly this dude is shady because this is not in the agreement. Why do I have to reach out to him? They were like, well, with the takedown request, it could take up to 2 weeks, and then you have to I'm like, yo. So I'm with you. It's like this shit doesn't make any sense. Somebody can infringe on our copyright, infringe on all of this, and we have to reach out to the shady person and then they could say, yeah, but it may take a minute. I've even had that issue with free features where it's like, yeah, we gave you a feature, you're not a collaborator. And then we have to, it's like it may hit our Spotify profile. And then I'm like, the label's moving slow. So I'm like calling my friends at Spotify. I'm like, hey, sorry to do this, but can you take down another track off of our? That's why I'm so vigilant about it. Cause I've had to call my friends on Thursday night too many times because I didn't want a song to hit our profile. And I hate being that person.
I bet you if you're UMG, you can get it take it down very quickly. But let's continue to blow our own minds because I didn't put two and two together. You sent me an article about an artist who is openly admitting to scamming Spotify using Playbot. And for me, my thing is like, he's talking about making what 40 to 50,000 a month doing this. Seven or no, I think it was up to 70,000 a month doing this. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I'll do that. I don't care. Everyone's
Same.
doing it.
The labels are doing it. That's why I followed him. I know it's like Dave didn't like it, right? We both were like, yeah, I'm not saying it's cool, but it's his music. He's paying for the bots, and the cost of the bots generate more revenue than or the bots are generating more revenue than the cost of the bots. It's the same thing the majors are doing. Everybody's saying majors don't buy bots, they 100% do. It's documented. So for me, it's not an integrity issue because there's a false sense of integrity in the industry that people don't do this. It's like nepotism. Nepotism is painted as a bad thing in the world. They're like, oh, nepotism is wrong. That's literally how everybody in the world, especially white America, gets on. So for me, I always say I support Black nepotism. And people think I'm joking. And I'm like, no, it's not an integrity issue. They told us it was wrong so that they could do it and get away with it behind our back. And then we didn't do the same thing. So if the bots are an act, what's wrong with if I spent the money on the bots and they're my song? So I'm with you. People think it's a gray area. I'm not telling small artists to do this because you definitely have to have a system. You have to have money, whatever. But I'm with you, Payne. Sign me up because this industry we're not getting paid for the streams anyways.
Yeah, and there are consequences. But speaking of consequences, here's what I didn't understand. So the name of this artist who is openly speaking on this, his name is Chad Arrington. And for some reason, you sent me this article a couple weeks ago, and this was on the Brandman Network. Shout out to Brandman Sean. He was talking about making 50 to 70,000 off of his 200 song catalog, which is a lot. And that's what I hear, from people who do this, because I know a couple of people spread them out among many. I shouldn't say it that way. What they're saying they do is they spread out the plays among a large catalog.
You can't give advice on how to scam.
I'm really trying not. I've never done this myself. I don't think I'm going to, but it is tempting. And I guess there's yeah, if you want to check out the full article, the full interview, because it's an interview, it's not even an article, it's straight from the horse's mouth. The title is Rapper Makes 70K with Spotify Bots.
He has
Anyway,
multiple interviews too. If you dig, he's on, and on his page, he's just giving the game.
yeah. And so what's crazy is when I looked at the video again to prepare for today's podcast, I'm like, wait a minute. Chad Arrington is Chad Focus. Chad Focus just got out of prison just got out of prison for pulling another scam. And this was not a safe scam. This was him and we've spoken about this actually on the podcast, I think before you even joined, Aaron. I'll just read the District of Maryland on justice.gov, the federal, this was a federal thing. He was sentenced to more than 2 years in federal prison for wire fraud conspiracy, which sounds nefarious. It seemed pretty simple. He's just a rapper. He had a good job. His job gave him a company card. He used the company card to buy millions of dollars worth of rap music marketing for his career, and then got caught because there's a paper trail. With the Spotify bots, there's not really much of a trail. So I personally am a little surprised that he's openly speaking on this, but this isn't a federal crime. So I guess if you've already done a couple of years in a federal facility, this is nothing.
They said he was in what is it, like a low. It wasn't like I think prison, jail, I don't even want to go to jail. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to soften the blow, but he was in a place where he could have, and I want to say this because I don't want to come across judgmental, but he was in a decent facility. So for 2.5 years, he could have thought about what he was gonna do when he came out. He could have been educating and reading. This man came straight out to he came straight out and said, "We going for the Spotify bots." So like for me, this is a well thought out business. Do you know what I'm saying? Like most people when they spend time in jail, prison, they come back with like, I'm gonna get my life right. He was like, what can I legally do that's still of the scam vicinity? You know what I'm saying? And I like, so I really, I
I
respect it.
respect it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm laughing because it sounds funny when it comes out, but it's like, dude is a hustler. And he came out and said, where can I hustle the easiest? He still wanted to be a rapper. Shout out to how dedicated he is to his. You have a job that's so good. You scammed $4 million on your company credit card. You had a great job. And instead of just being like, I'm cool to just release some music, he was like, no, I'm taking this rap shit to the top. So now he doesn't care that it's not real fans. He just wants the rapper lifestyle and he wants the rapper fame. If you look in his bio, it says, do you want to be rich? Do you want to be famous? Or do you want to be both? Clearly, he wants to be rich and famous, but he doesn't necessarily need you to like his music. He just wants to be a rapper. And I think I respect the hustle because he's going after what he wants. And I don't feel like he's harming anybody. He's paying for the bots. Again, the only harm I think is telling people this is the route to go. If you're trying to make money, this is a good money route. If you're trying to be an artist, it's not a good artist route. But shout out to him because he figured it out. And he has swag and he's so convicting when he talks. It's just like he's going to be successful wherever he goes. He just decided he wanted to go a route that he probably wasn't going to get arrested again. So I respect it.
And I think, this is an angle he's working now, because he works for, or he was the star of the Vice TV Black Market piece. Because if you go to, so here are a couple of things that might be problematic. So, one, I just checked his Spotify. I think maybe Spotify already caught him because he has 0 monthly listeners now, and that's his verified artist page. But number two,
Yeah, last time I checked, he had like, I think it was like close to 200,000 monthly listeners, but he had songs that were close to a lot of songs close to 1 million streams.
yeah, I mean, I think he's more of a viral marketer now. And this was just great publicity, but he just check his Instagram. I am Chad Harrington or Chad Arrington. I hope I'm saying that right. And he is a wealth of scamming knowledge. One of the posts is a video of him discussing how and these are legal scams, he's saying, legally scammed Ticketmaster.
Okay, that story is crazy. Did you play it?
Um, no, I mean, I want to, but can you
It's
give me a
it's
synopsis?
genius and it's okay. So basically, this is why I'm saying this isn't something that new artists can do because it takes money to make money. I always tell people that, but he basically had so okay, so he uses really intelligent AI. He's not just getting like so. I know a lot of sneakerheads are like sneaker plugs and they have bots. So if you don't know, a lot of people are using bots. So what they do is they will pay for a bot to be on the page to buy a certain amount of sneakers at a certain rate. At a certain rate, the bot stops buying the sneakers. But this is how they get the big drops and they have multiple pairs that they can go back and resell later. When you can't figure out why you can't get more shoes on the sneakers app, it's because of bots. Now, sneakers does a lot of stuff to prevent the bots, but you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different websites that you can go buy shoes on. So he did the same thing with Ticketmaster. He had I think an AI study human, like the typical rate of checkout for a person buying tickets. So he breaks it down. He says if you're going to Ticketmaster and you see I don't know, let me think of somebody. You see NBA YoungBoy tickets dropping. You go to check out and you're like, dang, I thought it was going to be like $70. These tickets are $120. And he's like, okay, should I buy two tickets or should I buy four tickets? Because if I buy two tickets, it'll be me and my homie, but maybe me and my girl want to go. And then she's going to want her girls to go. Dang, I didn't even talk to her about getting these tickets. Should I spend $400 for real? Damn, I love NBA YoungBoy. And then a song starts playing in your head. You go listen to the song. You're like, fuck it, I'm gonna go get the NBA YoungBoy tickets. I'll just put it on my credit card. You check out. He says the data tells him that the average person takes 6 minutes to buy a ticket on Ticketmaster. Okay. So he programs his bot to buy tickets with an average of a 6 minute hold between the time they click on the ticket link and purchase the ticket link. So when tickets drop, he has a shit ton of bots mimic this human behavior between like 5.5 minutes and 7.5 minutes, them purchasing the tickets. He spends 200K on tickets. So he says, you ever wonder why the Weeknd, Drake, all of them, sell out almost immediately? He was like, they're buying their own tickets and then reselling them on StubHub and things like that, which is true. Okay, I will tell you this. I remember learning about a contract that Katy Perry has when she goes out on tour. Her contract reserves 20% of tickets. 20% of tickets have to be given to them by Live Nation / Ticketmaster for them to sell on secondary markets, right? Because those are clauses that major artists put in there, then Live Nation Ticketmaster started saying, why don't we do the same thing? So then they're taking 40 to 50% of their own tickets to sell on Ticketmaster. So when, especially arenas, massive tours go on sale, you really only have 15 to 20% of the actual tickets. This is a marketing. So I'll even tell y'all with me, when we drop tickets, early birds always sell out because we're only putting 15 to 30 tickets on sale at that cheap rate. That's it. They're gonna sell out because when I say sell out, now people are like, there's urgency there. What the people are doing, though, on a very predatory level, instead of lowering the ticket rate when they first drop it, they have it at this rate. And then they say, oh, we're gonna triple it because there's a demand here, that a false demand that we created. Right. So he basically says, if Ticketmaster can do it, if these major artists can do it, I can also do it. I'm going to take $200,000. I'm going to go buy 10% of the tickets in an arena, and then I'm going to put them on StubHub for 3 times the cost. So he said, I guess he made like $2.6 million in like 20 minutes because he just had the bots buy $200,000 worth of tickets. He put them on StubHub, I guess a day or two later, and he, boom. So he was like, it's a legal scam. That's how I scammed Ticketmaster. But I agree it's a legal scam because they're actually doing the same thing. The only reason it's even called a scam is because Ticketmaster doesn't want people to do this by and large. But he broke it down on Vice TV. There was never a cease and desist. He didn't get arrested, so you know it's real. But they're doing the exact same thing. I think a lot of times, even when it comes to like drug dealing, I'm not like vouching for drug dealers, but the only time drug dealers are looked at negatively is when they're Black or brown. If we look at Pfizer, if we look at all these they're drug dealers. You know what I'm saying? Even white people who sell coke, nobody's like, that dude is so bad. But the moment somebody's Black and they're selling something, it's like, so with him, it's like they're noting him as a scammer. And I want to be careful with even utilizing that language because he's an intelligent business person. He's looking at trends in the industry. He's equipping himself with the technology that it takes. And he's liquid enough to be able to afford to do that. And then he's also giving the game. He's like the hood Robin Hood.
Yeah, these are all things that I would do if I had the AI infrastructure. I'm not gonna lie.
If I had the time and I was that liquid, because I really, and I know people are going to be shook, but I don't see the downside. I don't see, I think the only thing for me is the human collateral because I'm really about like fairness and integrity and like valuing people, even if it doesn't make money sense for me, which is why I'm in the predicament that I'm in right now, which is why several lawsuits happened for me this fall. And I just was like, whatever, if you want to sue me, you can, but I'm not going to countersue. Take whatever you're trying to sue me for. Because my thing is like the human collateral. So in my head, I think I would still be wrestling with the fact that it's like, these are soccer moms who didn't need to spend $350 on Taylor Swift tickets. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, my thought process is somebody else is going to do it. So it's like that's when you get into the free market. That's when you get into capitalism. I think it's hard for me to kind of get into that a little bit, but it's a really weird place to be. But I can't knock, bro. I think he has a hustle that's built for a unique type of human being. And I respect what he's doing, to be honest.
Yeah, he's looking at the industry and adapting. That's really it. He's adapting at a high level, and like you said, you have to be that liquid. But I'm sure a lot of people are, and it's still a risk. You know, like if I'm liquid $50,000, I'm not going to buy lottery tickets. So, some of us don't want to take those kinds of risks, but it seems, and these are risks because you never know. You never know when the business is going to try to make an example of you.
Yeah, and he's probably lost. I mean, clearly he lost time and a ton of money because he went to jail. But yeah, he's probably lost on a lot of bets. He's just talking about that's us. I mean, this whole like when we talk, it's like we're telling you stuff that's worked, and we do hit on stuff that hasn't worked. But I've had way more things not work out. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm gonna make it in the music industry right now. You know what I'm saying? That's still a daily like there's way more opportunity to lose than win. He's just talking about the wins, but I know because of the amount of money he's making, he's had to lose massively multiple times.
Yeah, Chad is an inspiration for us all. So maybe he'll see this and jump on. I'm serious.
Yo, Chad, please. We would love to talk to you.
Yeah,
Seriously, because I respect what you got going on. It's not necessarily my route, but you're like, he's an innovator. And I just want to talk about the way that he synthesizes information. Where are you looking? How do you analyze that this is a good bet for you? Things like that. I would love to bring him on here. Chad, if you hear this, please, let's talk.
yeah. I thought it was going to be a one hit wonder back when he did what he did, but I think he just got smarter and more focused. No pun intended. That being said, appreciate you tuning in. I learned a lot in this episode. It blew my mind that was the same person that we already talked about years ago on this very same platform. So life is crazy, and the
I
business
feel
is
like I
crazy.
talked most of this episode. Forgive me. Thank you for
I
letting me have
listen.
a
I
platform.
love listening. Now, we'll be back. I think there are whisperings that Dame might be back this coming week. But we'll see. Dame is like Kendrick. You just never know. You really don't.
He's busy being a mogul, He was at Music Biz. He's doing all this stuff in LA now. So shout out to Dame. Big Jaw just got a deal for like a streaming deal. So
Mm.
Dame is out here working.
Oh, finally, yeah. Dame's going to be super busy. So hopefully, when he comes, we can talk to him about the Big Jaw deal because that is a big deal, and we were talking about why that hadn't happened yet and the frustrations associated with that. So I'm looking forward to that. Once again, appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Aaron. We'll catch you next week. Peace.